So that was customary for that until after a while, too many people were shooting too far out and the bullets are flying all over, you know, and so finally the DNR or the conservation people put a stop to it because it never was legal, so, really. But it was customary and everybody had a gun in the boat, so. They didn't think they could land these muskies without killing them first before you try to get them in the boat. So there's a few stories where people shot holes in the bottom of the boat, but I never had that happen. And had another one about 30 pounds on. Did the same thing, come right straight in toward the boat and up in the air and out goes the hook. This is all on a gang hook with a bucktail, you know. So that was bad enough to lose both them fish. So then we started to bend around the shoreline of the bar there, and Osterman decided he'd make a cast out about 50 feet off the shore, and the whole bottom just erupted right there. And that fish came in the same as the other boat and up in the air and almost fell in the boat.
How big was it?
Oh, I think it was the same fish Spray got. Because if Spray said he got that fish on Fleming's bar, I can believe it. Because anyway, that fish started going away from the boat, and I said to Osterman, "You want me to shoot it?" He said, "Shoot that so-and-so as soon as you can." I had the gun underneath the line as fish got about, maybe 40 feet away from the boat, but it was just about ready to surface, and I was squeezing the trigger, and just right about that time, he give one good splash, and off the hook he goes, and the hook comes flying back, and Osterman takes his rod and reel and slams him down in the boat. He says, "We're going home, that's it. He's going to throw tackle box, everything in the lake." He said, "He's done fishing." I says, "Heck," I said, you want to go home?" I said, "Heck, they're hitting pretty good." I said, "Let's keep on." "No," he says, "Crank up that so-and-so motor." He says, we're going home." So home we went. Canceled the dinner arrangements and back to the home. So.
And the next day, Louis Spray catches.
And the next day, Spray got that, but this man wouldn't go fishing for 2 years.
Catching a fish is as much fun as hitting a home run. I don't know, I'm Ken Herbeck of the Minnesota Twins. Take a kid fishing this summer or this winter. Anytime, take a kid fishing.
The people come in here, they just swear they'll never go no place else again.
People from all over the country are finding out what North Dakotans have known for years. The fish are bigger and fishing's better here in North Dakota.
This fish right here is the biggest walleye I've ever caught in my life. And I know I've caught thousands.
I caught better fish in North Dakota than I did in Canada this year.
We will absolutely be back to North Dakota. This is the best place that I've ever been fishing.
I'm coming back next year, too.
It's a lot of fun, and I wouldn't hesitate to come back in a minute.
I loved it. I loved it.
At Crestliner, the innovations just keep on coming, and our space-saver transom is one of the best. More cockpit space, less engine noise, increased performance on a sleek True V Uniweld aluminum hull. At Crestliner, the innovations just keep on coming.
Northland Fish and Tackle.
Catch big walleyes with deadly jigs and rigs like the Fireball, Phelps Floater, or Roach Rig. Northland Fishing Tackle, the fisherman's favorite.
Hey, there are a lot of places to get fishing information, but the one we use is the Fishing Hotspots Discoveries and Fishing Hotline. Call 1-900-454-5555. A call that'll get you on fish. Call today and know before you go.
Ever wish you could cast a country mile? Now you can. The Country Mile Reel and new Country Mile Spin. Cast one.
Take walleyes by storm with Storm's great line of walleye baits. The deep-diving Hottentot's erratic action seeks out walleyes and salmon too, or tie on the hot new Thunderstick. From Storm Lures, baits that take the big ones by storm.
There's one.
Now you got one? Yeah.
Boy, these are strong bass. Thought he was going to come on board for a second there, Arnie.
Just about come in, man.
These are strong bass.
No. Not bad.
Not bad at all. Those are darn nice bass.
Yeah, you know, if he'd have jumped a little better, you'd have lost him.
Yeah. Look at, he just soaked me. Splashed water all over me.
Well, it's better getting water that way than from up there, so
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely.
it's more enjoyable.
Arnie Jewell isn't nearly as busy guiding as he used to be. You see, over the years, while Arnie developed many regular clients, over that 60-year guiding career, the problem is many of his regular clients simply are no longer living. I can promise you this, though. If you want to get on fish, walleyes, northern pike, crappies, muskies, or bass, you aren't going to find a better guide or a finer boat companion than Arnie Jewell. And I do hope if you want to fish with this man, you'll drop us a note.
Now that is a darn good
That's
bass.
a nice one.
That's a 5-pound fish.
Yeah.
Very definitely.
Want me to measure it?
Yeah, you got one handy?
Oh, I thought he'd ask that. Just for the fun of it.
That is a
Just for
darn
the
nice
fun of
bass.
it. I'll let you read it.
78 pounds. Okay,
Good 20 inches.
20 inches. Look at that. Boy, that is a beautiful, beautiful bass.
So, well, there
Arnie,
was
I'm
one
going to go
out there.
bass fishing with you more often.
See, there was one out there.
You were right. Fish in deep water. Oh, there's one. Not a real big bass,
No.
but fun.
So,
I'll tell you, Arnie, I'm going to recommend you to everyone I know who wants to catch bass.
tell them to rate this one up.
January 14th, 1991, was a historic day for disabled anglers. It was our pleasure to serve as Master of Ceremonies for the signing of a Memorandum of Agreement between the various branches of the Department of Interior, the Department of Agriculture, and Fishing Has No Boundaries. It's my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Secretary of the Interior, Manuel Lujan.
Thank you very much, Tony. And I want to welcome everybody over here to the Department of Interior, welcoming you to this signing of this Memorandum of Understanding on Fishing Has No Boundaries. I don't know of anything else that we could do here in this department because it combines all of the things that we believe in into one Memorandum of Understanding. I want to say welcome and thank you to all of the participants today. Robert Kamek from Merry Fish, thank you very much. Thank you for everything that you do. And from our, well, even beyond our department, the Forest Service, Dale Robertson was not able to be here, but George Leonard is here representing him. We have from the Department of Interior, the BLM, Cy Jameson, Dennis Underwood with the Bureau of Reclamation, and John Turner from Fish and Wildlife Service, David O'Neill, Assistant Secretary for Land and Minerals, and Mr. Ridenauer with the National Park Service was not able to be here, but Herb Cables is here representing the National Park Service.
This memorandum of agreement between the Department of Interior and its agencies, as well as the Department of Agriculture and Fishing Has No Boundaries, gives us a framework to promote fishing opportunities for disabled individuals. This is a significant step forward for sport fishing and opportunities for those with disabilities. Fishing Has No Boundaries will be holding 3 fishing events for disabled persons in the upper Midwest. In May on the Chippewa Flowage in Hayward, Wisconsin. In June on Lake Sharp at Pierre, South Dakota. And in August at Bemidji, Minnesota. If you're disabled or know of a disabled person who might be interested in attending, Write down this toll-free 800 number and call for more information. Now let's go to Bismarck, North Dakota to look at another special fishing event.
Hi, I'm Dardine. Today we're going to a special event called Cops and Kids. It takes place in central North Dakota on a prairie lake. It gives kids from single-parent families a unique opportunity to fish and become acquainted with law enforcement people. It sounds like it's going to be a fun time. Come on along. I met with the kids at the Kmart parking lot, and I had a chance to visit with some of the moms. Most of these mothers are single parents, and I quickly realized how difficult it is for a single-parent mother to get her kids out fishing.
When you work 40 hours a week and you have to come home and do these other things, I have a child that puts me on guilt trips because I don't spend enough time with her anyway.
Right.
So when I got this phone call, it was the greatest opportunity, and she was in seventh heaven. I mean, excited.
That's really nice. It's
so
hard.
Yeah, it's a real treat.
Real treat.
Yeah.
This is a really unique event. Every branch of law enforcement in the Bismarck-Mandan area is represented here. The cops provide the boats, the guides, the lunch, and it gives the kids and the cops a real special time together, doing something they really enjoy, fishing. The fish aren't big, but they bite often, and that's what's really important for these kids. And when this group came in, they really had a story to tell. An all-girl crew headed by Diane Larson of the Bismarck Police Youth Bureau.
Were we having fun?
We got stranded in the middle of nowhere and we couldn't get the motor to start.
Was this because of the experienced guide?
Yes. Yes. As a matter of fact, it was. Could I tell him?
No, I told you no fair
Go
telling.
Okay, I can't tell you.
This is real serious stuff, huh?
Okay, go ahead.
You better tell.
She
got the rope stuck in the motor.
The motor got wrapped around the rope. The rope got wrapped around the motor, and Mom threw the rope out.
That's pretty serious.
It was her fault, and then we couldn't go, and about 12 boats passed, and we kept waving our paddles, and nobody could see us. Nobody would turn around and even acknowledge our existence.
We had an opportunity to get out and walk in the water a little while. And we met a nice fellow, Dwight Barth from Bismarck, who stopped by and helped us out and helped pull the rope out of the motor.
Get to associate with a lot of the kids and stuff like this. These kids, a lot of them are just single-parent families and stuff like this, and it's just a lot of fun.
We have a lot of kids that are out there that a lot of times they end up in conflict with law enforcement officers, and that's all they ever see is the uniform, or all they ever hear is somebody say, if you don't behave, that cop is going to arrest you. Well, that's not the truth, and what we're trying to do is get kids out, get them out with law enforcement to let them know that we're people, we're human beings, and police officer is our job, it's our occupation, but we are private as well, and we do have private lives, and we do enjoy going out and doing things, and we enjoy kids.
I like to see kids out because that's really our future. It's the future for supporting the fisheries. It's the future for outdoor recreation, and when these kids can come out and have a good time with the policemen and just get out in the water, it's going to mean a lot.
Single-parent households are one of the fastest-growing segments of the American population. Research tells us also that if a youngster doesn't fish before the age of 10, that youngster may never experience the joys of fishing. There's clearly a need to make it easier for single-parent moms, many of whom have never fished themselves, to get their kids started in this lifelong sport.
If you don't have the help available, call a bait shop, call someone you know, call anyone you know that fishes, and just ask them how you can get started, because the kids love this so deeply. You can see that on their faces. Even kids that aren't connected with the Derby here today, you watch kids out, and I've seen a lot of kids fishing this year, I think more than before. And I just really am gratified to see that. I love to see kids catching fish, and they aren't particularly fussy about what they catch and where they're at and what they're doing. Just getting them out here is really so good for them.
Sensational spring savings from Dakota Mart in Pierre, South Dakota. A 260-piece walleye kit for just $9.95 plus a free bonus tackle buddy. One of hundreds of great fishing tackle buys in Dakota Mart's gigantic spring savings catalog. Get your free catalog. Write Dakota Mart, Box 1158, Pierre, South Dakota 57501. Check out this gigantic catalog or send for your walleye kit and get your free bonus tackle buddy and fishing manuals. Dakota Mart, Box 1158, Pierre, South Dakota 57501.
Crestliner's new V180 Viking Pro-Am has more innovations than I can cover in the time we have. all in a true V Uniweld aluminum hull. At Crestliner, the innovations just keep on coming.
Compared to the noise of a gas outboard, any electric fishing motor seems quiet. But some electrics still frighten fish, while Minn Kota doesn't. No wonder 3 out of 4 fishermen choose Minn Kota. For the quiet power that catches fish.
Northland fish and tackle.
Northland Fishing Tackle, the fisherman's favorite.
Ever wish you could cast a country mile? Now you can. The Country Mile Reel and new Country Mile Spin. Cast one.
Coming up next week, walleyes take the spotlight. First, we're going to join an old friend and top-notch fishing guide, John Gilkerson, where we'll fish the midsection of Lake Oahe in South Dakota. Then on the same show, we'll move up the Missouri River system to North Dakota to fish with Jerry Vaughan of Newtown, North Dakota, where we're going to experience Sakakawia's early fall walleyes. Until then, I'm Tony Dean saying so long, everybody. Coming up this weekend, we journey to Montana to fish with the nation's largest landlord, Cy Jamison, Director of the Bureau of Land Management. We'll also be fishing Montana's Fort Peck Reservoir. And on the same show, Ducks Unlimited Executive Director Matt Conley joins us for walleye fishing and goose hunting. All this weekend, right here.
There's one.
Oh, terrific.
That's a walleye.
Yeah, it's an walleye. You bet it is. Yeah, look at that.
Not a real big one, but...
That's a nice looking fish, though.
There it is, Western Reservoir walleye. And I'll tell you, when it comes to walleye fishing in America today, I think the Western Reservoirs are probably the finest fisheries. Hi, everybody. Welcome aboard. I'm Tony Dean. We really have a special guest today. He's the nation's largest landlord. Stay where you're at. You're going to enjoy him. Cy Jamison, head of the BLM, is our guest. We'll be right back.
Our show is brought to you by North Dakota Tourism Promotion. Discover the spirit in North Dakota. Bass Buster Lures. Crestliner Boats. At Crestliner, the innovations just keep on coming. By Minn Kota, the quiet power that catches fish. South Dakota Tourism. Great faces, great places. Mitchell Reels. Evinrude Outboards, the outboard more people rely on. By Johnson Reels. Northland Fishing Tackle, quality baits in the bright yellow package. And by Northwest Territories. Our show is also brought to you by these manufacturers. Hey, if you like walleye fishing, trust me on this one. Honestly, the best and most consistent walleye fishing we know of takes place in western reservoirs. And this reservoir, Montana's Fort Peck, is perhaps the most lightly fished of all. It's the first of 6 huge reservoirs on the Missouri River and is located in northeastern Montana. My guest today is Cy Jamison, director of the Bureau of Land Management, an agency that oversees vast tracts of public land across the western states.
You know, Cy, I introduced you at the beginning as the nation's largest landlord, as head of the BLM. You really, truly are.
Yes, I'm very fortunate to be President Bush to appoint me to this position, BLM director. I happen to be on some water now. BLM doesn't have a lot of that, but we do have a lot of fishable streams, like almost 155,000 miles of it, a lot of that in Alaska. Really having a great time here today, and this is a good experience, my first with you, and also our thanks to you for helping us in the Interior Department kick out Fishing Has No Boundaries.
Reading between the lines in the newspaper and so forth, I sense a new BLM.
Well, I like to say that too, and I compare us to the like the new Chrysler Corporation. In the past, BLM has been well known for being working very well with like the livestock industry, oil and gas industry, and the mining industry. And there's nothing wrong with that, and we'll continue to do that. But also, I think it's about time that we in BLM give the other side of the equation a fair shake, and that's fisheries and wildlife. Fisheries, what we're doing here today. Also, cultural resources is very important, and also recreation, which is also what we're doing here today. So I think there's enough room in this nation, especially in the BLM, where we have 270 million surface acres, and gosh knows what's all out there for people to do. And I just think that if we give that other side of the equation a fair shake, America's going to be better of it.
Yep. I got one here, Cy.
Good for you.
Good fish, too.
Tony, need some help on that one? Oh, yeah, that's a nice one. Good.
Pull him up.
Oh, that's a nice one. Oh, that is nice. There.
Deep below the surface, suspended in the eternal twilight, lies North Dakota's most elusive natural resource. These are riches that cannot be mined. Bounty that can't be bought or stolen. There is only one way to acquire these treasures. You have to catch them.
I've seen other electric motors spook fish, and I've seen schools of fish swim right under my boat while running my Minn Kota. No wonder 7 out of 10 fishermen choose Minn Kota. For the quiet power that catches fish.
What's about to trigger this fish to strike isn't a scent or a lure. It's a reel, the only fishing reel with built-in action. Rapid jerking action that telegraphs a low-frequency vibration through the line all the way to your bait. Action fish sense and strike. It's the revolutionary Jerk from Johnson Reels with rapid jerking action that makes fish strike.
Serious fishermen tend to be picky about a lot of things. That's why we've created the Evinrude Intruder. All new from the prop to the engine cover. Smaller, lighter, and quieter. Still, there's 158 cubes packed into the all-new powerhead. In its class, nothing can touch it. At Evinrude, we know that the catching is at least half the fun. Getting there ought to be the other half. The all-new Intruder at your Evinrude dealer.
Northland Fish and Tackle.
Catch big bass, lunker, muskie, and pike. Fish the Jawbreaker Spoon, Reed Runner Spinnerbait, and Bionic Bucktail. Northland Fishing Tackle, the fisherman's favorite.
Who's got the innovations you want? Crestliner. The innovations just keep on coming.
Welcome back to Montana's Fort Peck Reservoir. Our guest, Cy Jamison, director of the BLM.
I started as the lowest man on the totem pole in the BLM, a GS3 at one time, as a fire control aide, working right here in Montana. I worked myself up through that and into public affairs here for about 10 years. Then I went to work for Congressman Marley on Capitol Hill. I worked on the House Interior Committee for about 10 years. And now I've been very fortunate and had the honor, as President Bush appointed me to this position. The White House asked us to write down 3 choices when we were coming on board when Bush took over, and my first choice was BLM, and the President gave it to me. So I basically come home, and it's just been an honor, and it's been a really exciting times to do it. And I think we're making a lot of changes, and all of them for the positive.
With the new focus on outdoor recreation in America through all the agencies of Interior, and particularly BLM, what's it mean to people who hunt and fish?
The American public really doesn't care what the patch on the shoulder says, whether it's recreation or wildlife. They want to make sure that their resources are being taken care of and that they have a safe and enjoyable experience, whether it's fishing or riding a trail bike or hiking or whatever comes along. And I think what the Bush administration has brought to town is that we bring emphasis to that. We've put our money where our mouth is. We've increased our budgets in these areas. I don't use that as a total mark of whether you're doing things right or wrong, but I think in the next several years we put together all the strategic plans and went all through all the hoops of that sort of thing, and now I think we can really start seeing things happen on the ground, because we're going to move those dollars instead of being eaten up by the bureaucrats in Washington and other levels of the organization. We're going to put them here on the ground and along these waters so people can have more access and also have that safe and enjoyable experience.
Well, going from a small town outside of Billings in Montana to the nation's capital has got to be quite a change. What's it mean to Cy Jamison to be able to spend the day out on a gorgeous reservoir like this?
Tony, and I don't mean to be facetious when I say this, is it means I'm not crazy. I think you have to get out of Washington, D.C. You have to get back to where the people are and the resources are to see what's really happening out there, and also is to relate those back to the hinterland. And when I mean the hinterland, I mean to Capitol Hill and into the administration. Many times I think people get too comfortable in Washington. They lose perspective of who they're really sent there to serve, and I just don't want that to happen to me. And every chance I get, whether it's here in my home state of Montana, in the big sky country, or anywhere else, I think it does a lot of good just to get out and see the resource and see the people that are actually working it.
Say this Fort Peck's really a treat to fish. Great big impoundment, lots of beautiful scenery and lots of fish. And to let you get to know the area better, I want to introduce you to a former college classmate of Cy's, a former school teacher, and one of the very few guides on this big lake, in an area rich in wildlife and on a lake full of fish.
We've got lake trout and salmon, walleye, sauger, perch, smallmouth bass, just about anything you want to fish.
The lake trout fishery's got to be one of the best on the North American continent. I mean, you guys really take some big lake trout here. Tell me more about it.
It's come on strong in the last 15, 20 years. We're taking lake trout anywhere from 10 to 30, 35 pounds.
What if someone wanted to plan a trip here, George, for lake trout with a real shot at some of those big fish? What would you call peak times?
I would start probably the first or second week in May, and they usually are on a run until then, maybe 30 days after that they start, and you can fish them all year through the summer. You just have to fish deeper for them. And then again in about October, they'll start their run, a big run, and it'll last 5 or 6 weeks.
Now, I've always felt, George, that the western reservoirs probably had the finest walleye fishing in America today. And this is probably the most untouched fishery of the bunch. Tell me about the walleyes and saugers here.
And they're going to run anywhere from 2 to 6 pounds. And they're right in there with the walleye.
And there's no best time?
There's no best time for them. Just get out there and get them.
Real aggressive fish.
Yeah, they'll hit a lot harder than some of the walleye.
George, you're one of the few working professional fishing guides here on Fort Peck, but your season doesn't end with fishing, does it? You go into the fall.
Start out with archery season. About the second week in September, we're starting with antelope archery, and then towards the 3rd and 4th week of September, where elk season opens up and deer, and we're rolling, and then it runs on into the rifle season. And you can take some fantastic animals here.
That's a good idea. A lot of times walleyes, northern smallmouths will lay right up on the windy side of those reefs. You might get bit up there.
I would hope so.
Hey, what do you got there?
I don't know yet. Let's take a look here.
Am I going to need the net for this?
Oh, look at this. What's that jewel?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll bet it's a northern. Oh, it's a nice northern.
Oh, look at that jewel. Oh, my first one out of Fort Peck, and I'm a lifelong Montana. Look at that baby go. Oh, boy. Well, this, comes to the he who wait.
You're really handling that fish well. You're taking wherever he wants to go.
When you're with the BLM, you have to do that. No, this is. Oh, look at that! Hey, look at that baby.
Oh, that's a beautiful
fish. Oh, that's
fish,
beautiful. Oh, look at that! Woo! Oh, he's running now. Oh boy! Come on out of there. Let's take another swipe past the net here, fella. Must be a Democrat.
That's a nice fish.
Oh, it is. It's a beauty. Look at that. Here he is. Look at that. Oh, hey, look at that. Oh, terrific, terrific.
Oh, it was a nice fish, Si.
That's beautiful.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
Look at that baby.
That is nice, isn't it? That is a beautiful northern. Si Jamison, our guest today. I want to thank him for being with us. You stay tuned. There's more to follow.
Hi, my name is Chad Hall. I'm from Elgona, Iowa. I'm the all-time leading money winner on the Cabela's In Fisherman Professional Walleye Trail, and I can't think of a better way to spend a day than out fishing.
There's one.
Stick 'em.
See if I can just flip him in the boat. I can. There we go. Fall, what a great time of the year. In fact, the month of October, one of those times when, golly, you don't know whether to take the fishing rod or the shotgun and a bag of decoys or what. But fall's a great time of the year to fish walleyes. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Dean. I want to welcome you aboard. My guest today, a guy who really is one of the real movers and shakers in the effort to restore our duck populations to mid-1970 levels. Stay where you're at. I'll be back with Matt Conley, Executive Director of Ducks Unlimited, after this.
We're going to cut off the hook to make a point. Fish may bite on plastic, but they'll spit it out faster than you can say, set the hook. Now watch what happens to a genuine beetle spin with its new 83% fish food body. Fish won't spit it out. They'll hold on and hold on and hold on, giving you more time to set the hook, if you had a hook. Genuine beetle spin, 83% fish food, so fish hold on, hooks included.
There are days when the fish are coming tough, when you might get just a few strikes all day, when a Hagen rod makes all the difference in the world. Rods with ESP, extra sensitive perception. Light, balanced, and extra sensitive. At fine sporting goods stores, or call this number to get the name of the dealer nearest you. Here's a family fishing getaway that won't cost a bundle. South Dakota's state parks and campgrounds. Mountain trout fishing in Custer State Park. Big walleyes and smallmouth bass in the Missouri River. Panfish and walleyes in the glacial lakes. South Dakota. Great faces, great fishing places.
Here's your chance to save on all your fishing tackle needs. Dakota Mart's new spring catalog. It's 68 pages of values, rods, reels, lures, and equipment to help you catch more fish this year. Call this toll-free number, 1-800-382-2553 to get your new spring catalog full of super buys. Dakota Mart's catalog and specials are just a phone call away. 1-800-382-2553. Catch this opportunity to save and catch more fish this summer with new tackle and equipment from Dakota Mart in Pierre, South Dakota.
From Big John, downrigger fishing at a price you can afford in any small boat. The Gadabout rigger for conventional mounting. Or the Runabout, a fit-anywhere downrigger. From Big John, makers of quality downriggers for over a quarter century.
Northland Fish and Tackle.
Catch big walleyes with deadly jigs and rigs like the Fireball, Phelps Floater, or Roach Rig. Northland Fishing Tackle, the fisherman's favorite.
There we go. Ah, that's a better fish. Nothing wrong with that, Matthew.
Looks great.
I marked a whole bunch of fish there right as we came across that thing. We'll keep a few of these.
You know, one of the beauties of the outdoors is that there's so much more to it than just catching fish or bagging birds.
Oh, those are big ones, too. Big birds.
It's just being out there on an autumn day when the air is brisk enough to force you to wear gloves and heavy clothing. It's seeing the colors of fall, feeling the cold October wind in your face, good conversation with good friends, punctuated often by the sights and sounds of a season in change.
I always wondered how a bird that can migrate in circles can be so challenging.
How can it ever get anywhere?
Another big batch behind them there.
Way up high?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fish.
That one? Oh, good going, Matt.
Same age class.
Got a nice walleye.
Okay.
Now, that's a unique
Put 'em
thing
back?
about Paul. We can go ahead and keep a few of those.
Okay.
They're not bad eating. In fact, they're pretty darn good.
It's cool. The air temperature's in the 30s, but I'll tell you, all the essentials are here. Migrating waterfowl, good camaraderie, and the fish? Well, if your outlook's right, they're just a bonus.
There we go.
Hey, way to go, Matt.
Well, the little guy. But it beats the alternative, doesn't it?
It sure does. Those are great
Whoops.
eating-sized fish.
It's a good thing he wasn't much bigger, because he just broke himself off here.
Well, it's a good hook set. You really drove her through there.
Put this guy back.
Ah, we can eat that fish. That's decent. That's the size we really ought to keep for eating, and toss anything in that, 2.5 to 6 pound bracket back. These are all mostly males. You know, the fish are migrating upstream now. They always do this time of the year, and the males are about the first ones to head toward the spawning grounds, and we always end up with a big influx of those smaller males in this area, and later on big females move through, but the males come first. And these are the ones you can harvest without hurting anything.
This walleye bite was pretty good while it lasted, but we got a few walleyes in the well, at least enough for a tasty meal this evening.
What a great time of the year. You know, watching those ducks and geese fly up and down the river, I think we've had a pretty good influx of birds over the past 2 or 3 days. We haven't had many in the area until now, but there's a pretty good front north of us. What do you say we load up the boat and run north of town and see if we can do a little bit of scouting and maybe find some geese we could hunt in the morning?
That sounds like a great idea, Tony. It feels like a little snow in the air, and I'll bet you're right. There will be some birds moving in.
A half hour later, we were watching a typical October scene. Lots of birds, ducks and geese of all species on a small wetland. You know, scouting's a big part of successful waterfowl hunting. You've got to spend time watching these birds to determine which fields they'll choose to use that afternoon. And then you want to be set up there with your decoys the following morning. Soon flocks of ducks and geese started to move. The afternoon feeding period was about to begin. Now it was just a matter of watching them to see which fields they'd choose. Say, did I not say at the outset that the experience of being out here is at least as important as catching fish and bagging game? Even though the pheasant season's open, just the sight of these birds, along with ducks and geese, made being there something special. CRP cover's done wonders for soil conservation and wildlife, and I often wonder what's going to happen when this program ends. The next morning, we set up our decoys, combination of big Magnum field decoys and another dozen or so of Bigfoot decoys. We put them in 2 separate groups. But the geese would have nothing to do with us. They weren't a bit impressed by Matt Conley of Ducks Unlimited, and certainly not with the fact they might be on television. In fact, I think you could say they ignored us and set their sights instead on identical fields 20 miles away. And then, to add a bit of waterfowl insult to hopeful hunter injury, the few that did choose our field, more than a few actually, picked the spot several hundred yards away. For both Matt Conley and myself, it wasn't the first time waterfowl outsmarted us, and it probably won't be the last. But still, just being there, reward enough, because when nature puts on a show, it can be awesome, and we watched it from the comfort of our blinds.
Now, I've often thought October ought to last about 120 days. Honest to gosh, you know, we fished yesterday, and late in the day we came out, we scouted this field, we set up exactly where the birds were landing, and all it proves, once again, is that there are no guarantees in the outdoor world, and I guess we wouldn't want it any other way. I want to introduce you to Matt Conley. Matt's the executive director at Ducks Unlimited, and Matt, you've been working with the North American Waterfowl Management Plan, one of the key players in it, and there's no question our duck population is in perilous condition right now. How do you see the future right now?
Well, a year ago, Tony, we talked about this, and I was in pretty strong spirits about it, but right now I have a lot of concern about it because the economy has gotten so soft, and traditionally when that occurs, conservation programs begin to suffer.
You know, one of the things, Matt, that a lot of people were concerned about when the North American Plan actually was unfolded a couple years ago was the money. Where's the money going to come from? And that is the problem right now, isn't it?
We were looking for a hopeful $15 million appropriation from Congress, and it wasn't coming. The monies that more than likely that will be coming for the plan will come, curiously enough, out of the Exxon Valdez settlement. And we'll probably see close to another $30 million available for the North American Plan. And that's so crucial because those dollars are dollars that are parlayed up against state dollars and other federal dollars and private sector dollars and corporate dollars, and it's one of the greatest programs that's ever happened in wildlife because it has brought people together jointly, working as partners.
Well, the joint venture concept of the North American Plan is all well and good, but what direction are we going to head in if we don't get those dollars? Are we going to be able to do the things on the land that have to be done? Are we going to be able to continue to work with landowners in an effort to restore duck populations? Well, I guess what I'm getting at, Matt, is what is there that someone who cares about ducks can do at this point?
We need to look for a continued commitment on the part of the government, particularly the federal government. And I think it's up to us, all of us who have an interest in conservation, to see that that happens. But we can't always look to the government for all the answers in this business. And we need to also look more importantly to private landowners and to look for a greater number of partnerships there and working with private landowners who for years have exhibited stewardship on their lands and can work now, I think, as one with others toward making certain that there is a place for wildlife in their agenda and all of our agendas. And I think we're beginning to see some of that happen. And I think that we are just on the brink of some good, innovative programs and working with the private and public sectors together as individual landowners become more important to this whole thing.
No matter where you live, if you care about waterfowl and the future of our waterfowl flocks, and not only waterfowl but all wildlife, because wetland habitats are good for so many different species, I think you owe it to yourself to stay in touch with your elected representatives, congressmen, senators, and you have one representing you or several representing you wherever you live. Drop them a note. Let them know how you feel about what's happening with the North American Waterfowl Management Plan. Tell them what's at stake and how you feel about it, and find out how they feel about it.
I've seen other electric motors spook fish. And I've seen schools of fish swim right under my boat while running my Minn Kota. No wonder 7 out of 10 fishermen choose Minn Kota. For the quiet power that catches fish.
For more than 2 decades, Storm's Hottentot has been deadly on walleyes and other game fish. And now the next generation, the Rattle Tot. From Storm Lures, more deadly than ever.
Oh, Ed, you got the tackle boxes, right?
Right.
And the net.
Yep.
The trilene?
I got fishing line.
Ed, we ain't going fishing without Berkeley Trilene.
Berkeley Trilene, America's #1 selling fishing line.
Who's got the innovations you want? Crestliner. The innovations just keep on coming.
Northland fish and tackle.
Catch slab panfish, whopper walleyes, lunker muskie and northern pike, or hog bass. Northland Fishing Tackle, fisherman's favorite. Hello, I'm Tony Dean, inviting you to join us this weekend as we go walleye fishing with a man who's trying to change the U.S. Forest Service. Join us for an outing with Forest Service Chief Mike Dombeck. I mean, a guy that spends a lifetime making sure there's fish out there ought to be catching them.
Well, you've got to
You
stop
are.
and smell the roses, and I don't get to do that very often. It's one of those special days. Look at this one pull.
And it's all coming up this weekend right here. He grew up in the Chequamegon National Forest in northern Wisconsin, and today he's the 14th chief of the U.S. Forest Service. But Mike Dombeck is engaged in the fight of his life, a struggle to change the way the U.S. Forest Service does business. You'll meet him just ahead. Hello, I'm Tony Dean, inviting you to spend the next half hour with us as we continue another season of our award-winning tradition. Our show is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops, Fisher Boats, Mercury Marine, Lindy Little Joe Fishing Tackle, Wraparound Sunglasses by Eclipse, North Dakota Tourism Promotion, Vexilar Sonars, Abu Garcia Rods and Reels, Berkeley Line and Power Baits, and by these additional sponsors. Now stay where you're at for a half hour of great outdoor entertainment.
There's one.
Got him?
Got him. Look at him go. There's a little bit of weight at the end of this one, Tony.
I love it the way old fishing guides just handle the rod so well. Oh, hey, you got a good fish.
Yes. What else is in here besides walleyes? Is that a...
Well,
we'll
watching this one, if it's a walleye, it's a very good one. Let me grab
a walleye.
Net. Oh, yeah, nice fish. Nothing wrong with this.
Boy, look at how clear that water is.
I'll let you bring him up again. Nice walleye.
Hey, I like that. That is what it's all about.
Got a guest today, a guy I've known for a number of years, who is a fisheries biologist. In fact, he has a PhD in fisheries. He's also the chief of the U.S. Forest Service, former fishing guide from the Chippewa Flowage in Wisconsin, Mike Dombeck. Stay where you're at. We'll be back.
Fisher boats are designed to perform and built to last, with spacious layouts and serious fishability in every boat. All welded aluminum hulls, hand-laid fiberglass, and rigid reinforced bow structures. Fisher boats, designed to perform and built to last. Choose from over 40 Fisher boats in our free brochure. Just call 1-800-226-FISHER now.
The new Fenwick Techna AV rod. Hey, it's the lightest, most sensitive fishing rod I've ever used. And listen to this. Buy a Fenwick Techna AV rod and receive a free Magellan GPS. Take advantage of this unbelievable offer today at these Fenwick Premium dealers.
Hi, I'm North Dakota Governor Ed Schaefer.
And I'm First Lady Nancy Schaefer, and we're going fishing.
We're fishing the big waters of North Dakota. The numbers of fish are up, and so are their sizes. So whether you're fishing Lake Sakakawea or Devil's Lake or any of our top-notch fishing waters, you won't be disappointed.
It's a great place to bring the whole family with lots to see and do. So come to North Dakota on your next big fishing trip.
We'll leave some big ones for you.
Sometimes a walleye lives in the darkest places, where it's hard to get his attention, until now. Until the hatchet harness, a radical new spinner blade design that flashes with a strong chopping action for rod-thumping vibration. They see it, hear it, feel it. The hatchet harness, a radical new spinner design.
The new hatchet harness. It really nails the walleyes. From Lindy Little Joe.
Oh, there's another one, Tony.
Mike, you have the hot hand today. And that's as it should be. I mean, a guy that spends a lifetime making sure there's fish out there ought to be catching them.
Well, you've got to stop and smell the roses, and I don't get to do that very often. It's one of those special days. Look at this one pull.
They're tough fish. Oh, another nice walleye. Boy, those are, you know, you want to eat walleyes, those are just absolutely the perfect size. There you go. I think the reason you're doing so well is you get to fish more. I spend all my time netting. So.
And I appreciate that, Tony. Look at this fish. Isn't this a nice one?
I'm going to quit fishing and start watching. You're doing something I'm not.
It's late June, and we're fishing the Oahe tailwaters at Pierre, South Dakota on the Missouri River. And for Mike Dombeck, a rare opportunity to do something that he once did for a living when he was a youngster growing up in the forested lake country of Sawyer County, Wisconsin.
Well, there were really only a couple of things a kid could do there at that time, and you could work in the woods and cut pulp, and some springs we did cut and peel aspen, but the other opportunity was guiding with the old fishing lodges and the resorts there. And Moose Lake at one time had 9 resorts when I was growing up there, and all you had to do after fighting the mosquitoes and the wood ticks and the black flies, working in the woods, is get out on those big, beautiful lakes in the summertime and have the breeze blow all the bugs away. You knew what you wanted to do, and I spent 11 years guiding, and I really enjoyed it. In fact, there's still people that I hear from, and it's been over 20 years since I guided, that you just make very, very good friends fishing.
There's one, Mike.
Hey, Tony, I like that. Look at that beautiful clear water.
That one,
nice walleye.
Back. Oh. There we are.
Tony, I'm really glad you broke the ice.
Never go head-to-head with a guy with a PhD in fisheries. They know the territory.
However, during his first year as Forest Service chief, Mike Dombeck, soft-spoken former fishing guide and biologist, has made more than his share of powerful enemies. Among them, Congresswoman Helen Chenoweth, Senator Frank Murkowski, Senator Larry Craig, and Congressman Don Young. They were enraged when Dombeck called for a small road-building moratorium in early 1998, and they and other powerful Western elected officials want timber harvest to go up, not down, and they want Dombeck's head on a platter.
Obviously, you got to deal with all kinds of conflicting interests. You've got timber companies that are obviously interested in logging. You've got fishermen and hunters who are demanding high-quality outdoor recreation. You have environmental groups whose goals may differ completely from those of the two former groups I mentioned. How do you go about keeping all those balls in the air and juggling it and coming out with a comprehensive policy that will be accepted by most of the American people?
Tony, I think we get there by working with people. It was just a wonderful experience to meet with all of the interest groups here in South Dakota, to hear the viewpoints of the ranchers, the recreationists, the fishermen, the hunters, the miners and the loggers. And there's something that we have in common that I think we have to focus on, and that's if the land is in good shape, everybody benefits. It's in nobody's best interest to have degraded watersheds, to have poor water quality. And it's more than a quality of life issue, it's also an issue of economics, of sustainability, of families being able to live in these rural communities and make a living generation after generation. And it's about soil, it's about water, it's about healthy forests, it's about fish and wildlife habitat, it's about taking care of our native species of plants. We've got a significant problem in the United States with noxious weeds and invasive exotic species. And I believe that if we come at this in a positive way and realize that there's not enough for everybody to have all of what they want, that we have to share the resource. But the bottom line is to work within the limits of the land, because when we work within the limits of the land, we maintain options for the future. And isn't that what stewardship is all about taking care of the resource so our kids and their kids will have the same opportunities, the same options, and be able to enjoy the outdoors like we're doing right now.
In addition to dealing with all the conflicting interests, Mike Dombeck must also deal with his own employees. And based on our observations, they're split between an old guard that remains faithful to timber and livestock interests, and the rest who seem willing to accept the changes. Of all the issues Dombeck has raised, few have more resembled a minefield than the seemingly innocuous call for a moratorium on building new roads. Dombeck argues that it makes little sense to build new roads when the agency lacks the budget to maintain roads that already exist.
We have 380,000 miles of roads in the National Forest System, and there's so little support for that program, and yet I grew up on Forest Service Road 164 in the Chequamegon National Forest, and today it's blacktop, it's a bus route, it's a mail route, and I felt it was important that we redefine the roads program, because in the eyes of the American public, roads equal logging, equal subsidy, equal sedimentation, equal stream damage, equal bad. And the fact is, roads are an important part of the infrastructure of rural America. It's the way hunters and fishermen get to the places that we go. And for this reason, I thought it was really important that we, not only for social reasons, but also scientific reasons, really get the roads program back in the shape of the Forest Service.
And Dombeck carried through. In February of '99, the administration imposed a freeze on road building in 33 million acres of federal forests, although it exempted large areas, including most of the Northwest and the largest forest in Alaska. And predictably, the action brought immediate criticism from the timber industry. But just as predictably, howls from environmental groups who complained that too many areas were exempted. And while Trout Unlimited also thought the Northwest should have been included, they were more supportive. They wrote, "Simply put, many roads in the national forests are killing trout and salmon. Excessive mud and soil carried in runoff from unimproved Forest Service lands and roads is among the worst sources of non-point pollution on federal lands." Over the past 5 years, there's been a 25% increase in usage of Forest Service lands by fishermen.
We've got more recreation use on the national forest of any other single entity in the United States. Very important to the people, and we've just got to make investments in land and make sure that we provide the American public with the opportunities to enjoy the outdoors.
In fact, 10% of all inland fishing in the United States now takes place on the 130,000 miles of fishable streams and 2.8 million acres of lakes, ponds, and reservoirs on lands managed by the Forest Service.
I know many of our viewers, fishermen, hunters, depend on the public lands, whether it's the timber country that your agency oversees or the national grasslands or what have you. What do you see in the future? What is your vision, your goal, as the direction this agency will be taking?
There are really some profound social changes that are occurring and have been occurring and will continue to occur in the United States, Tony, and that's that the increased recreation use and the value of public lands. Not many people realize that the national forests provide more recreation for America than the national parks do. We have some 865 million recreation visitor days on the National Forest System and expect that to increase to 1 billion within the next decade. So we are coming out of a logging era, the big timber era of the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you can just see this shift occurring as people now valuing national forests and national grasslands for much broader uses than we did just a few decades ago.
Some of the world's finest waterfowl hunting, geese and ducks, plus great pheasant hunting, fabulous walleye fishing, tackle-busting northern pike, and an undiscovered smallmouth bass fishery. You'll find it all in South Dakota's glacial lakes and prairie region. Unspoiled outdoor recreation in an uncrowded atmosphere. Call toll-free 1-800-244-8860 for the free 72-page hunting, fishing, and visitor's guide.
Welcome to the trails at Oahe, here on the peninsula between Spring and Cow Creeks. Simply the most beautiful place to live or play on Lake Oahe. The driving range is scheduled to open in May. Championship golf starts in July of 1999. Lots overlooking the golf course, as well as townhouses to lease or buy, are available right now. To learn more, call this toll-free number, 888-311-OAHE. Call now.
Mercury with electronic fuel injection. It's a wolf among sheep.
From north to south, east to west, from upland birds to big walleyes and big Canadas over the decoys. Nestled around Lake Sakakawea, one of America's great fisheries, with the Audubon National Wildlife Refuge and hundreds of thousands of geese in the fall. Call this toll-free number now, 1-877-4U2-FISH. You'll get a free outdoor vacation packet from Sakakawea Country, McLean County, North Dakota.
It's here at last, a wraparound polarized clip-on for those who wear prescription eyeglasses. The wrap-on eliminates annoying side and back glare. It's available in flip-up or slip-on clip, plus the new yellow wrap-on. The new wrap-on lets me see under the surface, and it protects my eyes from ultraviolet light. The wrap-on, the new generation of clip-ons from Eclipse Sunglasses.
Hi, I'm Dale Earnhardt. When I'm not racing,
I'm usually fishing, and Bass Pro Shops is the place I shop.
Be sure to visit one of our new superstores and call for your new spring catalog, filled with thousands of top-quality items to help you succeed in the outdoors.
And Johnny Morris and his folks always give me fast and friendly service.
Call 1-800-BASS-PRO for your free catalog now.
Got him. I got him, Tony. I think that's a good one.
I want to welcome you back. Mike Dombeck, the U.S. Forest Service Chief, with us today. We're fishing walleyes on the Missouri River at Pierre, South Dakota.
No, walleye.
No, it's a walleye.
It's a walleye.
Well, it's an E. That might be eating size, Mike. I'll tell you in a second here. Yep, that'll make her.
He did eat it too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. There you go, sir.
Yeah, well, it's about time this afternoon here. I like that. I like the feel of that.
I don't blame you a bit.
That's what we're out here for.
When I first met you, Mike, you were serving as a special assistant to Cy Jamison, who was director of the BLM during the President Bush administration. Those years you were growing up, eventually ending up in Washington. I know you worked for the Forest Service back in your early days, then the BLM, then you were acting director of the BLM. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, think you would be heading the United States Forest Service?
I've got to admit, Tony, never in my wildest dreams did I ever believe I'd have a job like this, but I'm an optimist, and the thing that's really neat about resource management is if you look at the bounty that we have in this country, the 191 million acres of national forests and grasslands that belong to everybody, and where else can you be born? In what other developed country can you be born in and be the automatic owner of a few acres of land? Then if you add the 270 million acres of BLM lands, the millions of acres of national parks and wildlife refuges, we've got a tremendous heritage in this country that all sportsmen should be proud of.
America's public lands have traditionally been managed under the multiple use concept. That includes carefully regulated grazing, which most agree is a proper use of public lands, or mining, which also done properly is another proper use of the lands. Logging is perhaps the major extractive use of much of the Forest Service holdings, and yet properly managed, each of these uses is proper and consistent with good management of lands that belong to all the people of the United States. Yet the 104th Congress set out on a different course. Their goal was to rewrite America's environmental laws and change the management of public lands to favor extractive industries. For example, the livestock grazing legislation, introduced in 1995, would have given livestock interests priority over all other multiple uses. And sportsmen, conservation groups, and environmentalists united to successfully beat back this effort to take over America's public lands. They were joined by fishing and hunting trade organizations, such as the American Sport Fishing Association and the Wildlife Management Institute. But it was sportsmen on a local level who waged the most successful battles, doing so in every corner of America. And they were joined by a growing number of daily newspapers, who, after reading the legislation, opposed it. The Dominici bill ultimately died, as did another look-alike introduced in 1997 by Oregon Congressman Smith. Meanwhile, recreation on public lands had already replaced mining, timber, and grazing as the most important economic use of public lands, something even the Wall Street Journal recognized. Western public lands hold the majority of our mule deer and antelope herds, and through them flow numerous trout streams. Attaining balance between numerous competing interests is a major focus for Chief Mike Dombeck.
You seem to be signaling a change. I mean, I sense that your agency is heading much more in the direction of recognizing all these other resources our public lands have.
I had the feeling when I took this job about a year and a half ago, Tony, that nobody was satisfied with the Forest Service. Not the administration, not the Congress, and not the employees. And there were those that had said that, you know, the Forest Service was an agency that had lost its way. And as I met with the leadership of the agency, our many regional foresters and research directors, and talked to a lot of people the first few months on the job, I really think the Forest Service needed to return to its roots. And if you look back and think about the legislation that was passed in 1891 and the Organic Administration Act of 1897, and then the Weeks Act of 1911 that gave us the authority to purchase land in the east that became our eastern national forest, it all revolved around watersheds and watershed protection. And then if you think about the condition of the landscape in the Appalachians, in the home country where I grew up, and the forests had basically been devastated. It was water and watershed protection. And what we've done is we're rebuilding our topsoils and we're restoring our watersheds. And as I look to craft an agenda to try to focus the Forest Service, it really wasn't difficult at all. Water and watershed restoration. In fact, I had a individual that I visited with last week that retired from the Forest Service in 1976, a forester by the name of Jay Craven. He took me to the airport, and I said, "Jay, how do you think I'm doing?" And Jay said, "If you take care of the soil and the water, everything else will be okay."
Most Americans probably agree with Mike Dombeck's vision of public lands and their values. But most political observers say affecting that change won't be easy because there are entrenched special interests who have the ear of influential senators and congressmen, especially from the western states, who are expected to stymie any effort toward change. Jack Ward Thomas served as Forest Service chief just prior to Mike Dombeck. He resigned after 3 years, and he certainly knows the battles Dombeck will face. But he has good advice for all those who care about America's public lands.
In a democracy, issues are settled by the majority of the minority that cares about the particular issue. Now, in terms of the public lands, I would suspect half the American people don't even know we have any. And then those who know, there's some percentage that really care. So it doesn't take a lot of people to sway these issues. For example, if you're looking at the question about public land grazing, there's less than 10,000 permittees. 10,000 people are able to move the Congress of the United States. Surely 30 or 40,000 people, which is not very many, can be equally effective in addressing that.
Oh, there's one, Tony.
Way to go, Mike. Walleye?
I think it's a walleye.
Oh, and it's a nice walleye.
It is a walleye.
Let me grab the net here.
You know, the thing this reminds me of is I grew up doing this. and I wouldn't trade that for the world.
Nice going.
Isn't that a beautiful fish?
Way to go.
Well, we'll just put him in the live well here.
Everything you ever wanted to know about fishing Lakes Oahe and Sharp is in this great magazine, and we'd like to send it to you free. Call this toll-free number, 800-962-2034. We'll send it right out to you. Pier offers spacious shaded campgrounds, outstanding fishing, great hunting, water sports, and it's a great place to do business. Call now for your free Lake Sharp Lake Oahe magazine, 1-800-962-2034.
On North Dakota's Devil's Lake, the fishing is fabulous. And in the autumn, several 100,000 waterfowl make a stop here. During winter, Devil's Lake is a great perch lake with a booming population, setting the stage for another great year of winter fishing. To learn more, including lodging and restaurant accommodations, call the Devil's Lake, North Dakota Tourism Office. Their number is 1-800-233-8048.
The new Fenwick Techna AV rod. Hey, it's the lightest, most sensitive fishing rod I've ever used. And listen to this. Buy a Fenwick Techna AV rod and receive a free Magellan GPS. Take advantage of this unbelievable offer today at these Fenwick Premium dealers.
Hey, watch this. This is my jig,
And there's my walleye. The Vexilar FL8. Unbelievable.
The smile says it all. Great fishing on Lake Oahe for walleyes and northern pike. John Heights Cherokee Charters, serving anglers with honest professional guide service. Call toll-free 1-800-456-1168.
Up, there's one, Mike.
Looks good, Tony. That's what we came here for.
I just hate this.
Nice walleye.
That's definitely one for the frying pan. Yes, it is. I want to thank Mike Dombeck. You know, to those who probably stand in the way of the good conservation practices that Mike is putting in place on the Forest Service lands across America, I just want to remind you that this guy spent 9 years guiding muskie fishermen. And if you know anything about muskies, that's fish 10,000 casts, and to catch them successfully, you got to be stubborn, and you got to be patient, and you got to be resolute, and you sure got to be smarter than a muskie. Mike Dombeck is all of those. I'm Tony Dean. Thanks for being with us.
He barely stands 5.5 feet tall, but in many ways, Frank Heidelbauer is a giant. A giant storyteller, hunter, angler, motivator, and conservationist.
Every day up there was a wild adventure, and as I told you, sometimes punctuated with moments of stark terror.
I'm Tony Dean, inviting you to join us for some great outdoor stories, all coming up this weekend right here.